Mayor de Blasio ripped Sen. Klein, the leader of the breakaway Independent Democratic Conference, on Friday, calling his proposal to fund the MTA with city income taxes and speed camera revenues ridiculous. Klein, whose group caucuses with Republicans to control the Senate, had called for the state to divert $431.5 million in city sales tax revenue to cover half of an MTA turnaround plan that de Blasio has insisted is the state's responsibility. Klein also proposed expanding the use of speed cameras and using the revenue to hold subway and bus fares flat, cut express bus prices and fund Metro cards for low-income New Yorkers, a component that seemed to particularly outrage Hisner. "I think that's a ridiculous idea," he said on WNYC's Brian Lehrer show. Suggesting that the speed cameras are about revenue is the wrong approach. Speed cameras are not about revenue. We would love to make no revenue on the speed cameras and we'd love to see people not speeding. He insisted the use of speed cameras should be tied to safety, not funding any services. Julia Xanthos, New York Daily News. If Sen. Klein is saying he's going to fight for more speed cameras for us in Albany to protect kids, that's great, but don't link it to the MTA issue, he fumed. And he ripped the idea of diverting the city's tax revenue, saying the cash should go to things like schools, cops and sanitation services. "That's ridiculous," he said. "That's putting an additional burden on New York City, that's not fair." Klein blasted the mayor right back, saying de Blasio owed all of his accomplishments to the IDC leader. Jefferson Siegel, New York Daily News. To jog the mayor's memory, his only two real accomplishments, speed cameras and universal PREC, were achieved because of my leadership and ability to get state funding for the city. Klein said in a statement, "I am fully aware that speed cameras save lives, but I also want to achieve parity for low-income MTA riders and every rider in the city." Indeed, things weren't always so frosty between the two men. Klein did help marshal support for PREC in Albany, and as recently as May, de Blasio heaped praise on Klein during a joint appearance when City Hall in your borough came to the Bronx. But in recent months, as the tide in progressive politics has continued to turn against the IDC, the mayor has been increasingly critical, and increasingly vocal in calling for the group to come back into the Democratic fold. On Friday, that's what he said Klein could do to best help fix the MTA, by pushing for either a millionaire's tax or for the state to return $456 million it raided from the MTA for the general fund.